On today's episode, I'm going to be going over my top 10 list of home decorating mistakes that we're all making and how to fix them. So let's get started. So I've been wanting to do this video for a long time. These are some things that I've learned along the way. This episode is not meant to be a shaming episode at all, because we're all guilty of these. In fact, I'm breaking a few of them right now, albeit not intentionally, and I'm gonna spill the beans on those. You're gonna wanna stick with me to the very end because my last tip is gonna make you all feel a little bit better. So let's get started with the tips. Tip number 10, playing it too safe. Now on my channel, I show you how to use some power tools, and in that I always tell you, I want you to feel powerful. I want you to feel like you can do it, and that's the same with decorating. I want you to feel powerful, that you can do this, and sometimes we're a little bit nervous, we play it too safe, and we end up with something that looks a little bit like it was out of a big box retail store. So what I want you to do is do your homework. Pinterest is awesome because you can go to Pinterest and you can see rooms that you love that speak to you, and you can really put together all of these files. It's interesting. I'm like, I should have invented Pinterest because I was doing this before Pinterest was even around. I had these files on my computer and I would grab all these pictures and save them in these files, divided by living room, divided by kitchen, divided by dining room, etc. Of all these things that really spoke to me, and this is something that you can so easily do now with Pinterest. And what you'll notice is you'll start painting all of these things and you'll start to see patterns of what you like. There you have like picture proof of what really speaks to you, and you can start recreating that look. The way you do that is by emulating something that you already know you like. So Pinterest is a great place to start. So do your homework there, decide what it is that you really love, and then you start recreating that. And you can feel confident going forward that you're gonna like it because you have all of this picture evidence supporting that fact. Now on this playing it too safe, I think a lot of times that's driven by fear. Fear that you're gonna make a mistake, fear that you're gonna mess up, fear that it's not gonna turn out right. And I want to give you permission to mess up. It's okay. Now in these tips that I'm going to be giving to you today, I'm going to try to help you avoid some of those costly mistakes. But the little mistakes, it's okay. That's how we learn. We're all learning. I still make mistakes and I'm like, oop, that didn't work out quite right. I share some of those oops-a-daisies and accidents along the way, but figure out what makes you nervous and do your homework on that. So if it's mixing and matching fabrics, go into Joann's Fabrics, spend a little time there, get out some of their custom fabrics and kind of mix them together, see how they look. And what it all really boils down to is lacking design confidence. And how we're gonna fix that is by doing our homework. If you do your homework, you will gain confidence that you know what you like, and it will give you the confidence you need to proceed. So our next mistake is painting first. Now there are some instances where you might need to paint first, and I'll address that in just a second. But generally speaking, you really want to pick your inspiration piece first. That's gonna dictate the palette for your entire space. I always recommend finding one inspiration piece for your room and your palette, and that usually comes by way of maybe an art piece or a pillow or something to that effect, because when you have something that really speaks to you, something that has all the colors that you're wanting, it will really help the room fall together. Now, a lot of times people will pick a paint color and that kind of really dictates what they can do in that room, especially if it's really specific, like a red or, you know, some kind of bold color, then you're kind of married to that color, but not too much so. That's generally why I paint my own rooms, because if I do make a color mistake or if something's not quite right, that I can just quickly switch it out or go back and repaint it. Pick an inspiration piece or something that you're gonna build your room around, and then pick your paint colors. There are a few times when you just can't do that, or you feel like your decor could change regularly, so you want to pick a really neutral backdrop. Some colors that I recommend is Benjamin Moore's Revere Pewter. I have it in my main area right now. It really goes warm or cool depending on what you pair with it. It's kind of a chameleon color, so that's a really good one to go with. So in some of my bigger spaces, that's what I do. If you want more information on selecting paint colors, I did a whole video on this, so I will put that in the description box below. All right, next up is Incorrect Accessorizing. That's a tongue twister. So I've gone into a lot of clients' home, and what I notice is they have collection and they'll put them like in a long line or spread them out throughout a room, and then it becomes more knick-knacky. If you collect something, group those things together. It makes a stronger impact that way rather than peppering them through a room. Figure out a way to display them that makes a statement. So if you have a whole bunch of figurines, maybe build like a really cool display thing where you can line them all up and then it becomes a statement art piece. Also, when you're accessorizing, you want to vary in height, so maybe create like a triangle effect when you're displaying them. Ultimately, it boils down to you and what you like. All right, our next design mistake that we all make is art scaling. I'm lumping the size of the art as well as how you hang it. So here's some things you need to know when it comes to art. Just as in accessorizing, bigger, bolder statements are better in my opinion, and less is more. Now, if you have several small pictures, group them together to create a much larger visual effect. You also want to balance it out so you have a little bit of negative space around the art and make sure that everything is level and not off kilter. When you hang your art, you want the middle of the piece to hit about 60 inches. That seems to be about the optimal height for artwork, is for the center of the artwork to be at about 60 inches, give or take a little bit. Basically, what it all boils down to is you don't want your art to look like it's floating up in outer space, and you also don't want a little itty bitty picture on this big, huge, expansive wall. All right, so for my next mistake, we are gonna call this the $1,200 mistake. Before I started designing for a living, I went through a series of poor furniture mistakes. So I've learned this one the hard way. When I was in my early 20s, I went into a furniture store and I saw these red sofas that had these yellow flowers on them. It had these gingham checked pillows. And I'm like, I will love these forever. The lesson learned here is that when you purchase big furniture items, make sure they're a neutral backdrop and bring in those reds and yellows and fun things that make us so happy through pillows and things that are a lot less expensive. Well, I can actually thank those sofas for teaching me how to reupholster, because not too long after I ended up recovering them into a very neutral neon kind of green. So anyways, while it was a solid color, it was still bold, and needless to say, I didn't keep them very long. I'm airing out all kinds of my dirty laundry. It's okay, because we all make mistakes, and I can hopefully help you avoid spending $1,200 on a pair of sofas that you're tired of in a matter of months. So the fix for this, and what I recommend, is when you're selecting a piece of furniture, think long-term. It is an investment. I would recommend spending a decent amount of money on sofas. I'm still breaking this rule right now. I bought a house that was fully furnished, and it was furnished with something that I would have never picked out for myself. Now, it is on my short list of things to fix, but it's a big investment, and so you want to be smart about it. You want to be wise in purchasing something that you're going to have around for a while, because you are going to drop a chunk of change, and you should. You spend a lot of time on your couches. You want them to be comfy. So some recommendations that I would recommend is go with neutral colors, tans, browns, beige, white. If you're brave, you will get the lengthiest amount of time by doing it that way. Buy the best that you can afford. I don't think you need to go too crazy, but if you can afford to get down wrapped cushions, those are always more preferable. They are comfortable. Make sure you do your homework again. You consult Pinterest and find out what really pleases your eye. If you want to do something kind of fun and bold on an upholstered piece, do it in a chair. But for the most part, I'd recommend saving the bold fabric for your pillows, things that you can easily change out the covers on. Let's be honest, styles change, trends change, tastes even change. My taste over the years has even evolved. So you want for your big furniture pieces to be able to stand the test of time and get as much longevity out of them. Go for something more neutral. Don't go crazy. Don't buy those red sofas with the big bold flowers on it. You'll be tired of them in a few months, I promise. The next common mistake I have for you is lopsided scale. And this goes for furniture selection and as well as room layout. It's either buying a massive sofa for a little room or buying little itty bitty furniture, little tiny furniture that doesn't fit the space. It's kind of like the Goldilocks and Three Bears. You want to find something that's just right. And the other thing you want to do, and this is a rule that I'm breaking right now, not intentionally, but I do have a plan. My living room's got problems. I'll just say that. So one of the biggest problems I have with scale right now in this room is that the room is kind of out of balance. I have this big, huge wall with basically nothing on it. It has like a TV and like a $20 TV stand, and it is just this big gaping hole that I have plans for. I'm going to kind of bump out that wall and put on like a fireplace and eventually build in some bookcases on either side of it, so it will really be an awesome focal point. But right now it is like every time I walk in that room, I'm like, oh, it's so bad. It's gonna be an awesome room once I get to it, and hopefully that will be a little bit later this summer. So if you're not subscribed yet, you're gonna definitely wanna hit that subscribe button. So I haven't put any art over the TV. Maybe I should, but I've just decided to let it go until I'm ready to tackle that. My next mistake that I'm making is also going on in this room, and it's not necessarily one that I'm making by choice, but more like I'm just living with it, is bad lighting. This room has one ceiling fan in it. Doesn't have a ton of light. The ceiling fan doesn't even work right now. The ceiling fan is not centered. It's all wrong. So when I bump out that wall to do the fireplace, at that time I'm really gonna need to move over the ceiling fan. I'll probably switch it out and also add can lighting, because the lighting in that room is really dark. So when you're in there visiting, it's kind of like, Now, if you can't add lighting because of expense, here are some other quick fixes you can do. You can change out the light bulb and put in brighter wattage bulbs. Also, getting more lamps. You could do floor lamps and accent lamps and just try to bring in more light that way. Maybe switching out a light fixture. Maybe it only has like 1 or 2 light bulbs in it, but you switch it out for something that has maybe 3 or 4 or 5 lights in it. But even something as simple as just opening your curtains and your blinds and letting some of that natural light into your room, I don't know, it just gives me energy. It makes the room look better, so lighting is key. Another design mistake in pretty much my whole house, because I bought this house pre-furnished. We left our furniture back in Maine at our home there, and we came with nothing, so we were looking for something that was furnished. But the furniture that they have in here, you know, as a vacation rental, they just went in to a showroom and pretty much bought sets and put them in each room. If you want something to look designer, you really want to mix and match some things. Get different nightstands from the dresser and make sure that it's not all a matching set. As we do some of these extreme makeovers on my channel, that you'll see kind of how I go about that and how I approach that. Another really common mistake that we've all made at some point in our lives is not hanging curtains correctly. You really want to hang your curtain rod up high, close to the ceiling, a couple of inches below, just so you have room for like the finials on the ends of your curtain rods, and be able to like pull it out and put on the curtains and not damage the ceiling. And that will draw the eye up, make the room feel bigger, and really expand the size of that window as well. Also, I like to set the drapes on the outside of the window, so you don't want to have your curtains too short. You really want them to touch the floor, and sometimes in some settings things. Like in my bedroom, I have the drapes puddle just a little bit. It depends on the look that you're going for. That's definitely like a softer, more romantic feel, but generally speaking, you want to hit it right at the floor. And I go into more depth on this topic in another video. I'll put the link for that video below. All right, so for my last mistake that we all make, I hope this makes you feel a little bit better. I put it as bad timing. I have designed professionally for a living. I've done a whole bunch of model homes and high-end design clients, yet there is not one single room in my house right now, and granted I haven't lived here all that long, but there's not one single room that I would consider to be finished. I want to give you all a little permission to take your time designing a room. Most of us don't have a big chunk of money sitting around, so we can't go out and buy everything all at once. So here's the main point: the feeling that you need to do everything all at once versus also being scared to do it at all. So you want to kind of find somewhere in that happy medium. The other thing is like, I don't know, keeping up with the Joneses. You feel like you need to do it all at once. So then you have problems like getting into debt to decorate your room. And then when you feel like you have to do it all at once, you can't always find the best deals on things because you're paying top dollar because you don't have time to like price shop and compare. Do a little here, do a little there, and then ultimately you will have a really awesome place that you love, and you'll save a lot of money along the way by doing this, because then you can be really specific and intentional about your choices. So make a plan and execute it over time as funds and availability and good deals come along the way. I have a plan for pretty much all of my rooms. Don't give up. Don't think that you can't ever do it. So the bottom line is the home just needs to speak to you. You don't need to design your room for your neighbor. You don't need to design your room for your friend. If it speaks to you and makes you happy, that's what you need to do. If you enjoyed this episode, here's another one that I think you'll like as well. And until next time, to all of my DIY Niners, bye.